Boldwood presents Dreams Come True at the Fairytale Museum. Written by Jaimie Admans and read by Harriet Collings. Chapter 1. Congratulations! It'll be the very first ever after-street wedding. I clap enthusiastically, along with the rest of the shopkeepers after our co-workers and friends, Sadie and Whit, have announced their engagement. There's something wonderful about a wedding announcement, but when you're the last one of your friends to still be happily single, there's something awful too. The impending insistence that you cannot attend a wedding alone and must imminently find a +1, usually followed by the kind of offer to find one for you if you need any help, and the sudden insight that someone's half-brother's cousin's neighbour's friend works with someone who'd be perfect for you. The wedding will be on New Year's Eve at the castle. You're all invited, and we won't take no for an answer, of course, Sadie says. And don't forget, +1s are mandatory. No one can enjoy a wedding alone. Love is supposed to be shared. There it is. The unavoidable assertion that if you haven't found the one yet, you're somehow lacking something, rather than just having standards and not wanting to settle for someone who doesn't set your world alight and might make you feel like Disney princesses do when they meet their princes. We're at what was supposed to be a meeting for the shopkeepers on Ever After Street, but Sadie, who makes beautiful dresses at the Cinderella shop, and Whit, who owns the castle that looks out over the street from the hills behind, have surprised us all by announcing their engagement and upcoming wedding, and I'm as pleased for them as everyone else, because they're the happiest couple and the most perfect match. But weddings have a way of reminding you that you haven't found your perfect match yet, and everyone who's happily coupled up feels sorry for you, especially for a wedding on New Year's Eve, when you're staring down the barrel of yet another year of singledom, and the only thing you're likely to kiss at midnight is a tub of leftover Christmas chocolates. Don't you just love a wedding? My best friend Mickey, who runs the Mermaid's Treasure Trove curiosity shop, drops her arms around my shoulders. And what a perfect excuse to get back into dating. I don't want to get back into dating. The right man will fall into my life when he's supposed to. And if he doesn't, then I'm happier being single than I would be in a relationship that isn't the right fit. Even Mickey, my eternal +1 and partner in all things single, met a handsome history teacher over the summer and is now happily coupled up. All my fellow shopkeepers are, actually. Over the years, they've all met their perfect someone, and I'm still alone, working in the museum on the hill that looks over the street, surrounded by artifacts that have stepped right out of a fairy tale, and daydreaming of brave princes and handsome strangers, enchanted forests and hidden beasts, and trying to cling on to my conviction that true love's kiss is out there for everyone, and I'll find my own version of it someday. Even if that day is unlikely to be before Sadie and Whit's wedding in 3 months' time. Wren knows a couple of single teachers. Mickey sounds like she's been planning this conversation for a while. But to me, her partner's teenage daughter is looking like my best bet for a +1. Or maybe I could bribe one of my sisters into coming with me. And no, you can't take Ava. My best friend can clearly read my mind. And you do know a +1 only counts if they're not related to you. She adds before I can mention my cunning plan of roping a sister in. My Prince Eric statue! I could drag that along. Put a nice jacket and a scarf on and no one would know the difference. It would still be a more talkative date than some of the men I met from those dating apps you set me up on. And the less said about those, the better. I'd say I kissed a lot of frogs, but most of those frogs only wanted one thing, so I never got as far as kissing, and no actual frog has ever been repulsive enough to deserve the comparison. Everyone says goodbye and Mickey and I start walking away. But I was wrong to assume I could sneak off that easily. Lissa, about my son I mentioned. Mrs. Coombe, who runs the winterwear shop on Christmas Ever After, rushes after us. This is far from the first time she'd mentioned her son who's moved back home after working abroad and would, apparently, be my ideal man. Before I have a chance to respond, Imogen from Sleeping Beauty's Once Upon a Dream marches over. No, Mrs. Coombe, we discussed this. My neighbour's lad is free this weekend. Would you like... She turns to me hopefully. People to stop discussing my love life behind my back? I finish the question for her. Yes, I'd love that, thank you. Nope. Wren's art teacher friend has got first dibs, Mickey interrupts, shutting them both down. I know she's only trying to save me, but I have as much intention of meeting Wren's art teacher friend as I do of meeting any other potential matches my co-workers can summon out of thin air. It makes me feel like Princess Jasmine when she declares that she isn't a prize to be fought over, and the only thing I've ever wanted to share with Princess Jasmine is her perfect hair. Although a prince riding a magical flying carpet wouldn't go amiss either, if only to appease my well-meaning friends. Really? I turn to Mickey as the other two slink away with suitably guilty looks. I was trying to help. You don't want to be set up with Imogen's random neighbour or Mrs. Coombs' son any more than you want to meet Wren's colleague, but you're going to need a +1 before the end of the year. That's plenty of time. And if I don't find anyone, what is Sadie and Whit going to do? Bar the doors and lock me outside? It's not like it's actually enforceable. You were all single once. Just because you're rolling in loved-up happiness now, you must still have vague memories of how hard it is to meet someone who's not married, otherwise taken, an axe murderer, or a misogynistic twit. We make our way towards our respective businesses, and I wave to her as we reach the fork in the wishbone shape on Ever After Street, and she splits off towards her curiosity shop, and I continue towards my museum of fairytale artifacts. Ever After Street is the best place to work in the world. A cobblestone road full of quaint little shops that are all themed around fairy tales, right in the heart of the Wye Valley, at the foot of a real-life fairytale castle in the hills beyond the street. There's a forest and a river flowing past, and Colours of the Wind Museum on a small hill overlooking a grassy picnic area, which is home to a carousel, craft area for children, crammed flower beds, and plenty of space for families to enjoy the outdoor air and general magical feeling that pervades our quirky little street. I look up at the grey brick building as I climb the higgledy-piggledy set of stone steps towards it. The building looks like a very large, welcoming house that's been built in 3 distinct sections. There's green ivy covering 1/3 of the building, but no matter how I try to encourage it, it never wants to spread to the other sections. Colours of the Wind has become like a living, breathing thing over the years. Sometimes I feel like the artifacts could talk if they wanted to. I stop in my tracks. There's a man on my roof. When I suggested a man might fall into my life, I did not mean it literally. What are you doing? Get down from there right now. The man is wearing a yellow workman's jacket and a hard hat and taking photos. He doesn't even look up at my below, and I realise the museum door is open. What the heck? I locked up before I left for the meeting. I know I did. I race up the steps and barrel inside, and I'm greeted by men. Everywhere. There are men everywhere. Men in yellow work jackets and hard hats, men up ladders with industrial-sized tape measures. Someone's marking up the wall outside the room where I keep my princess dresses and clothing for children to dress up in when they visit, and I'm bewildered by what I'm seeing. I've only been on the other side of the street for half an hour. Where did all these people come from, and what are they doing here? In the middle of the chaos is a man, probably in his early 40s, wearing the sharpest suit and smartest tie I've ever seen, with fingers flying across a tablet in his hand. He gives off an air of being the one in charge of all of this, whatever this is, and I march across to him. Excuse me, but what the hell is going on here? Who are you, and what do you think you're doing in my museum? He looks up from his tablet, and when his eyes fall on me, he recoils like I've scared him. Whoa, you are an explosion of colour, aren't you? It does not sound like a compliment, and I shake my hair back and stand taller, trying to embrace the multicoloured look of my younger sister's hairdressing training. Let me guess. Lissa Carisbrooke. It's Lissa. Oh, so that's not a typo. He uses a stylus pen to correct something on the tablet he's holding. I've never heard that one before. I don't think the spelling of my name is too important when I'm moments away from calling the police. I brandish my phone at him. Who are you, and what are you doing in my museum? Oh, where are my manners? My apologies. Warren Berrington of Berrington Developments. He holds his hand out like he's actually expecting me to shake it. Owner of the building, so technically you are the one in my museum. No, that's not right. I'm struggling to clear my reeling head. My landlord is Mr. Mowbray. He fills in for me. Yes, dear old chap. Not much of a head for business these days, though. Berrington Developments have recently purchased the building and given him a nice nest egg for his impending retirement. The knots twisting around my stomach are accompanied by a severe sinking feeling. I was hoping this was all a misunderstanding and he was simply in the wrong place, but the flicker of hope has instantly snuffed out. He wouldn't know about the landlord if he wasn't legit, would he? I reluctantly fold my arms, tucking my phone under my armpit because I haven't quite given up on the idea of calling the police yet. I'm still hoping there's some sort of breaking and entering, filling my building with random men law he might have flouted. And surely there's health and safety protocol about the guy on the roof. Why has no one informed me? His infuriatingly handsome face contorts in confusion. What do you think I'm doing if not informing you? I meant in writing, advance warning, that sort of thing. His dark eyebrows furrow. Again, what exactly do you think I'm doing right now? I am your advance warning, right here in front of you, arguably cheaper than the first-class stamp these days. Doesn't the landlord have a responsibility to keep tenants informed of changes like this? I'm clutching at straws, trying to find some loophole that can punch a hole through this ridiculous claim, and we both know it. I know less than zilch about things like property law, and I'm pretty sure it's written all over my face. Well, you'll have to take that up with Mr. Mowbray. You'll probably find him on a plane halfway to the Caribbean by now. Between you and me, he was looking forward to a break. He'd been struggling to stay on top of his landlordy responsibilities, as I'm sure you know, seeing how you've gotten away with paying such a pitiful amount of rent for so many years. Any landlord still holding onto their marbles would have increased that years ago. He gives me the most condescending of all smiles. Fortunately, Berrington Developments are nowhere near as lax when it comes to their duty to their tenants and fair use to their properties. Developments. A word to strike fear into the heart of any small business owner who works on a quaint, somewhat old-fashioned street where everyone knows everyone else and every business is run with the heart and soul of its owners, and profit is not the most important thing to any of us, and absolutely no one wears a suit that costs more than my annual takings. I'm trying not to look at him, but it's hard not to appreciate the fit on that very smart suit, even though I'm certain that the price tag would make my eyes water. A company with the word developments in its name should be nowhere near a street like this. Mr. Mowbray has always been a hands-off landlord. He was enchanted by the idea of a museum full of fairytale artifacts, and he stepped back and let me get on with it. I've now got a 5-year commercial lease with a guarantee of no rent increases. That doesn't expire for another 2 years, and there's nothing this guy can do about it. I hope. I go to tell him that, but before I've managed to stutter out half a sentence about my long-term lease, he interrupts. Ah, yes, your current lease is voided, by the way. New owners, new lease. Rent's tripled, and we've added a tiny little redevelopment clause that states you'll need to vacate the property within 6 months should we decide to forge ahead with the redevelopment plans. Here you go. Here's the preliminary notice that we are intending to redevelop the site, so I'm officially serving you a 6-month notice. Advance warning as requested. In one swift move, he bends to open a briefcase next to his feet, slides out some papers, and pushes them into my hands with a cheerful tap of his stylus pen. Like he's just given me the latest weather report rather than delivered news that will upend my life. What? Every word is like a crash course in gobbledygook. Triple my rent? Evict me in 6 months? They can't. Surely. You can't do that. I assure you I can. His smile could actually be quite nice if it wasn't in the process of destroying my life. We're a multinational property acquisitions and development company, family run. My mother handles the acquisitions aspect. I handle the development side of the business. Have done since I left university. We've done this hundreds of times. I know my rights. And yours. I didn't mean from a legal standpoint. I meant morally. I'm struggling to keep the emotion out of my voice. There are too many people here doing things I didn't approve, and this guy is telling me I'm about to be evicted and there's nothing I can do about it. It's all too much. This museum is part of Ever After Street. It's been here for 10 years. The local council have to approve all plans regarding businesses on this street. I trail off because I'm not the biggest fan of our local council, and they might describe me as a thorn in their side if they were feeling particularly generous in the descriptive department. I've led protests against their unreasonable demands on more than one occasion. If they saw a chance to get rid of me, they'd bite the hand off the person who was offering. The local council have no say over private properties. There may be certain conditions for a tenant to meet, but in redevelopment terms, if we can guarantee an increase in revenue and visitors and something that enhances the street, then we're all set. We've already had preliminary plans approved by the council. He says it in an upbeat, lofty voice like it's the best thing that's happened all week, whereas I feel like the whole world is crumbling around me. How can they swan in like this and take over? How can there not be something I can do? Some form of retaliation, some right of being a tenant here for so many years. I mean, maybe there is, and this guy clearly isn't going to reveal it to me. But if I can get an appointment with the Citizens Advice Bureau or throw myself at the mercy of the local council and beg them for help, I can't be kicked out of the colours of the wind. It's been my whole life for over 10 years. My world is centred here. The idea of losing it makes me feel like this is a nightmare that I need to wake up from. I've never been very good at hiding emotions, and something flickers in Warren Berrington's blue eyes. I sense you're conflicted. Conflicted? It comes out much louder than I intended, and several of the workmen turn to look at me. Conflicted? I hiss again. Quieter this time as the workmen go back to whatever measurements they were taking and things they were surveying. No, actually, I'm not conflicted at all. There is no conflict here. I've poured years of love and work and hopes and dreams and imagination into this museum. You cannot simply waltz in and claim it. There are laws that protect commercial tenants, and I intend to find out what they are, but I don't want him to know that I don't already know what they are. So I square my shoulders and jut my chin out. I intend to use them against you. He laughs. I don't think he means to, but he bursts out laughing, and I think about what this must look like. He's obviously used to being in charge, with his frightfully posh suit, shiny shoes and fancy tablet, whereas my curly hair is wild, mostly blonde with dark roots coming through, and a rainbow of colours in it from my sister's experimenting with foils and coloured highlights a few weeks ago. I'm wearing dungarees that have come undone at one shoulder, and a long-sleeve top with a hole in one arm and a paint stain on the other. I'm still clutching my phone like I'm hoping to batter him with it, and I haven't ungritted my teeth since I walked in. He probably feels like he's just been threatened by a poodle. Well, don't I feel like I've just been read my rights upon arrest? He composes himself and stands up straighter. Do you know how much trouble a company like ours would get in if we cut corners? Every line in your tenancy agreement has been gone through by multiple experts. Our contract is watertight. I spend my life looking for loopholes and closing them. Look, Lissa. May I call you Lissa? I don't know, may I call you a demonic gerbil with no soul? He laughs again, not taking me seriously, even though he almost definitely is demonic and quite gerbalic. Petty name calling aside, you would get a lot more out of it if you work with us, not against us. Work with you to do what? His words pique my curiosity. So far, he's made it sound like I have no options, but this makes it sound like there might be a lifeline after all. You and I both want the same thing. You want to save the museum, and I'm here to help you save your museum. I know I've made that sound unlikely so far. I get the impression of a used car salesman. A bit of patter, clever marketing phrases, and charm and affability with an air of someone who's done this before. Many times before. But I go along with it because being in this position, even thinking about losing the museum and having to save it makes it impossible not to listen. 5 minutes ago, everything was normal. How can this be happening? And how can this be the first I'm hearing about it? But fear not, all is not lost. Believe it or not, I'm actually here to help. I'm quite taken by your concept. I've not heard anything like it before, and I believe there might be merit in keeping it open. I narrow my eyes because I can read between those lines. Profit, you mean? Yes, profit. A thing that all businesses need to stay afloat. I haven't had a chance to go over your accounting in depth yet, but it's blatantly obvious this place is struggling. It's not struggling. At least, it wasn't until you showed up, I snap at him. But if I'm honest, it is struggling a bit. And I'm certainly not going to admit that out loud. It's hard to get people interested, and I could do with more advertising, but the budget is limited. And what little there is has to go towards new exhibits and making colours of the wind a world of imagination. Things like marketing fall further down the list, and it limps onwards like a zombie shuffling along with the occasional limb falling off. Okay, every so often it has to stop and sew an arm back on, but it gets there in the end. Where's it going? He pushes at his lower lip with his pen, looking bemused by my comparison. I don't know, wherever zombies go, to come back to life. I've lost track of my own analogy, and he's watching my lips as I speak, clearly trying to keep track of it himself and barely suppressing another laugh. He was probably expecting a suited-up, office-dwelling museum curator, and he's got a multicoloured poodle yammering about zombies. No wonder he looks confused. While this certainly feels like walking into a horror film, my goal is to help you bring it back to life. I scoff in disbelief, because there's no way a guy like this does something to help anyone other than himself. He didn't manage to afford suits like this by helping others, did he? This is a head office man accustomed to sitting behind a desk and giving orders, who's completely out of touch with the real world and what it's like to run a business on a small budget. He looks at me for a moment, blue eyes blinking slowly as he considers his next move. May I show you something? Without waiting for an answer, he swivels his tablet round so it's facing me, skims his stylus pen across the screen until an architectural drawing of a load of geometric shapes on a hill appears in grainy pixels under my nose. I tilt my head to one side. What is that? He quirks a dark eyebrow but doesn't answer the question, leaving me tilting my head to the other side, trying to figure out what it's supposed to be. It looks like someone's dropped a Rubik's Cube and the layers have broken apart, and I'm pretty sure that whatever it was he wanted to show me, he's pressed the wrong buttons and brought up the wrong image. Nope, you've lost me. It's like you're trying to invent a building block puzzle to confuse a small child. His blue eyes flick between my face and the screen. This is what's supposed to happen in 6 months' time, if this place doesn't demonstrate that it can do a lot better than it's currently doing. What? I grab the tablet with both hands and snatch it from him, and he yelps because his fingers are through a holding strap on the back and he has to yank them free to avoid them being broken. I instantly realize what he means, what he's trying to show me. The hill. This isn't a child's puzzle. It's here. It's this place. It's what this place is going to become if I don't do something to stop it. They're going to demolish this gorgeous, eccentric old building and rebuild this hideously modern architectural nightmare in its place. It's all squares and sharp angles and looks like something from a futuristic sci-fi film where there are robots flying around all over the place and people whiz past on hoverboards. There has never been anything that would look more out of place on Ever After Street. The last thing I intended to do was cry, but it's a gut reaction and tears have welled up in my eyes before I know it. You can't. You're going to knock it down and build this monstrosity in its place? He's shaking his head like he's still trying to ease the pain in his fingers. We propose to turn it into a cinema, an entertainment complex, multiple screens for maximum film showings and indoor bowling, indoor mini-golf, wall climbing, an American-style diner, a pizzeria, a donut chain, an arcade, and a whole host of other entertainment options that haven't been settled on yet. You can't do that, I repeat, wondering how many times I'm going to plead those words today. What am I expecting him to say? Oh yes, you're quite right, I won't then. As if. Places like that will put the food shops here out of business. Cleo, who runs the Wonderland Teapot, and Ali, who owns the 1001 Nights restaurant, they won't be able to compete with diners and pizza places and donuts. That won't be Berrington Development's problem. Of course it wouldn't, I mutter. Did I really expect any different response? And why does everything modern have to be indoors? Wall climbing, golf, bowling, mostly traditional outdoor activities. Shouldn't we be encouraging children to spend more time outside and away from screens? Let me guess, not your problem? I'm a businessman, not a parent. If we give kids and adults and families as many activities as possible, and they can do it in one place, they spend more time in that one place, and therefore more money. That's the only bottom line that really matters. Of course it is. I echo the same response as earlier. The businesses and shops and friends who are going to suffer because of this are irrelevant to this company. The magnitude of it starts to sink in, and I tap his tablet to turn the screen back on and stare at the drawing again. This is not just about colours of the wind. It isn't just me who will lose my business if this plan comes to fruition. This will be the end of Ever After Street as a whole. If everyone who comes here is going to spend hours glued to a cinema screen, or scoffing pizza, or scrambling up a wall, or playing indoor golf, they aren't going to be visiting the quaint and quirky shops like Marnie's Beauty and the Beast themed bookshop, Mickey's Curiosity Shop, or Imogen's Once Upon a Dream that specialises in all things cosy like pyjamas, fancy bedding and candles. Small independent shops will fall by the wayside in favour of this under-one-roof approach where customers can spend their entire day, while the rest of the street stands empty. The thought makes the emotions rolling through me even stronger, and I turn away and swipe at my eyes, angry at myself for not being able to hide it. I'm trying to pretend I'm not crying, but the unexpected shock of this has undone me. I am here to help. He's looking at me warily, like he's not sure if I'm going to start wailing or bare my teeth and try to nip him. Why would you help me if this is what you intend to do to my building? I jab angrily at the tablet and he reaches over and extracts it from my hands before I do it any more damage. He lets it slide that this isn't my building. It never was and it never will be. My teeth cut through the inside of my lip until I taste blood as I try to stem tears again. This museum is the only thing that's ever given me a sense of stability in my life. The security of being a mainstay in Ever After Street is gone in an instant, and I don't know what to do about it. He taps at the tablet again. This is going to cost a lot of money, and I like the concept of a fairytale museum. It's interesting and different and could be huge if done right. I bristle at the implication that I have not been doing it right for all these years. The way I see it is that it will cost a lot less to invest in this place as it is, bring in some much-needed upgrades, budget fine-tuning, and see where it takes us. My mother was all for immediate demolition, but it was me who put forward this plan and got us this day of execution. We have until the end of the year to turn this around and prove that it's better value to keep it as it is, with a few minor adjustments, than it is to build a cinema complex. My company can put up a cinema complex anywhere. I've overseen 4 already in the past couple of years, but where else are we going to find something as unique as a fairytale museum? My hackles have risen at his way of making it sound like I have some sort of choice, when it's blindingly clear that I do not. And I will be at your mercy, constantly waiting for the day you decide to knock it down anyway and evict me at a moment's notice. 6 months' notice. He corrects me by tapping his pen on the papers in my hand. And I'll offer you a deal. If you can prove that this place is worth keeping, that it's a worthwhile business venture, and that it can make us more money than a cinema complex could, and you can cover the increased rent, then we'll match Mr. Mowbray's terms in the lease. 5 years, and we'll take out our redevelopment clause. And after that, we'll reassess, as any good landlord should. That bit is fair enough. Even Mr. Mowbray reassesses every once in a while. It's everything else that feels hideously unfair. How can this man swoop in here and act like he's trying to help? And what exactly would these minor adjustments entail? Is that what all these workmen are doing, measuring up for your minor adjustments? They're surveying, getting a feel for... All good for the fish tank, Mr. Berrington? One of the workmen interrupts us, bellowing across the lobby. It will fit nicely here, as you thought, sir. Fish tank? I stand up straighter. Why would you want a fish tank? And why would it be so big that you need 2 men and 2 stepladders to measure up for it? We've tried a fish tank before. It had blue and yellow anglefish in it, like flounder. And the poor thing died, and a child found it before I did, and well, let's just say that child was probably traumatized for life, and I decided not to do the living creatures again after that. Ah, but this fish tank won't be housing fish. It'll be housing a mermaid. I flick my head like I've misheard something. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but mermaids aren't known for existing. No, but have you seen those shows where swimmers dress as mermaids and can hold their breath underwater for an astoundingly long time? Everything you do here is so small, you need to think bigger. We need things that are a spectacle, things that people will come to see. I thought we needed budget fine-tuning, and you want to install a giant fish tank for a fake mermaid. The clicks of my foot tapping on the black and white chessboard floor echo through the building. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think we'd struggle to find a real one. He deliberately repeats my own words with a sarcastic smile. No, I mean, you can't do that. It's not real. I take pride in every single exhibit being faithful replicas of items from fairy tales. The entire point of this museum is so children leave here believing their favorite stories are real. That if the things in them are real-life objects, then they can pick up and hold and connect to, then magic must be real too. Mermaids aren't real. That clashes with my entire raison d'être. People are going to know it's just a person in a monofin flippertail. Yes, but the point is they'll pay an admission fee before they do. That's something else we need to address. The absolute pittance you charge for admission. It's laughable. A $5 per person or a $10 per family is nothing less than an insult to the exhibits here. I'm surprised by how much that sounded like it was partially a compliment. It is quite nice that he thinks my exhibits are worth more. Do you know how difficult it is to find places to take children that are affordable? Some people are struggling to put food on the table. People are behind on bills for essentials like electricity, heating, and hot water. They can't afford big days out. The theme parks and other places children want to go, but they still need to keep their little ones entertained. Everyone on Ever After Street has made it a priority to keep things affordable. The shops keep things reasonably cheap. The attractions charge small. It benefits all of us in the long run. I'm not here to fix Ever After Street as a whole, although I've only been here for half an hour and I can already give them an extensive list of things that need improvement. Nothing needs improvement. The attitude of someone who doesn't realize that times are changing and businesses need to change with them to stay relevant. If your fellow shopkeepers feel the same, no wonder this street is stuck in the dark ages. No one on Ever After Street needs your help. People like you don't get it and you never will. Not everything is about profit. It's about love and dreams and community. As a side note, I would like to clarify that Berrington Developments do not accept love, dreams, and community as payment towards the rent. So might I politely suggest that profit inserts itself into the equation somewhere? He's using that saccharine, sweet voice again, and I glare at him for long enough that he rolls his eyes and steps back with a sigh. His voice changes to something softer and more genuine. Look, Lissa, you and I are in this together, whether we like it or not. I'm here to give your museum a fighting chance. I've been allocated a small budget that I'm willing to plow into certain improvements if I believe them to be worthwhile. You can either work with me towards our shared goals of making your museum better and helping it to thrive, or I can walk away right now and you can book your moving trucks for the 1st of March, because that's when my company will be along to start the demolition process. The thought makes me shudder and a feeling of uneasiness floods me. I can't trust him as far as I can throw him. All he's interested in is profit, and that's never been the overarching importance of this little street. How can I ever make someone so businessy appreciate that? I wait for him to say something else, still trying to hold my head around this turn of events because I feel like my life has been turned upside down 6 times in the past 20 minutes, and I'm struggling to come to terms with the fact that today was just another lovely autumnal Monday, like any other September, and then this happens. He happens. Do you know anything about running a museum? I ask. Instead of saying anything else and without putting his tablet down, he's also got his phone out of his pocket and is one-handedly typing something on it. Nope, that's where you come in. You can show me what you usually do, and then I'll suggest ways to do it better, he says without looking up from his screens. I stomp down the diatribe I want to bark at him. Who does he think he is, coming in here and taking over, and now he's suggesting that I have to teach him how to do my job so he can tell me how many mistakes I'm making, and the urge to literally push him out the door and down the steps, ideally so he lands in a heap at the bottom with the damn tablet cracked on his head and his workman not far behind, is overwhelming and so very, very tempting. But apart from potential criminal charges for grievous bodily harm, what would it achieve except dooming this place for good? I have to believe that he means what he says, that I have a chance of saving Colours of the Wind if I can do things his way for a while. If I can get that 5-year lease again, I can get him out of here and put things back as they were, and at least I'd have time to prepare myself for the next reassessment, and surely anything is better than cinema complexes and moving trucks next spring. And you're staying here, are you? I can barely bring myself to vocalize the words. Is this for real? I'm suddenly going to be sharing my job with someone who looks like he's never stepped out from behind his desk before. He mutters like he hasn't heard me, probably because he still hasn't looked up from his screens. Oh yes, that's right, he answers without looking up after I repeat myself. I'll be working on my other jobs remotely while I'm here, so I can give this my all until the end of the year. If you could direct me to your office so I can get set up. Slight problem there. Define office. He looks up from his tablet and his dark eyebrows furrow. If I need to define it, we might have an issue. I would suggest a small room where you do important things like paperwork. There's probably a computer, filing cabinets, a printer, strong Wi-Fi coverage. I don't exactly have an office. I am trying to think of the best way to frame it. Even though how I manage my space is up to me, I know he will find fault with it. He seems like the kind of man who considers nothing more important than an office. I turned it into a workshop because I don't have space at home and the exhibits need to be made somewhere, so now the office is the kitchen table. His raised eyebrows says it all. At least the kettle is easy access for tea, I offer optimistically. And there are no other staff, so it's not like you'll be disturbed. An office really wasn't an optional utilization of our limited space. I throw in a couple of words that sound like they might be on his wavelength. He seems like optimal utilization type of man, and I can't describe the sense of dread that settled over me at the thought of letting him run amok in my museum, although I get the impression of someone so uptight that his interpretation of running amok would probably involve nothing more than a slight loosening of his tie. The end of the year seems a lifetime away, and I have no idea what he's planning, or how on earth Colours of the Wind could ever conceivably earn more than a state-of-the-art cinema complex. And the tendrils of dread twist outwards, making this feel like a fight I can't possibly win. Am I sentencing myself to a few very frustrating months where I will lose the museum anyway at the end of them? If there's one thing I do know, is that you can never trust a company with developments in its name. And yet, the alternative is unthinkable. I've never in a million years imagined that Colours of the Wind wouldn't continue indefinitely. I've never even entertained the thought of being evicted or of leaving Ever After Street and all my friends here. But if I don't go along with this, what option will there be? My thought process must play out on my face because he finally closes the case of his tablet and looks at me. I get that this place means a lot to you, but we've bought this building and we can't keep housing a failing business for the sake of sentimentality. As I said earlier, you've got a chance here. I like unusual concepts and things that are a little bit different. I would also like to avoid as much public backlash as possible. I've been pushing for a while to change the direction my company is going in. If Berrington Developments can do that by working with what's already here, rather than facing protests about pulling it down, then that might be the way forward. And this is my chance to prove it. This is important to me too. Let us both show we've got what it takes to change, update, upgrade, and turn things around, and your museum stands a good chance. Otherwise, this is built within 18 months. He taps the closed case of the tablet again, and I decide to be forthright too. Okay, honestly, how can I compete with that? This is a small place. I'm a one-woman band. I can't afford much advertising. My visitors come from word of mouth, and because people who come to Ever After Street want to see everything it has to offer, I can't imagine the revenue a place like that would turn over, but I would guess my annual takings are barely a fraction of it. If I'm wasting my time, I'd rather you be honest about it now. Give me time to prepare for the inevitable. My voice wobbles on those words, and he looks a bit guilty. Okay, honestly, I can work with that. His dark hair bounces as he nods, like he's approved my forthrightness. We streamline the budget and give people a reason to come here. We need an increase in visitors, an increase in reasons for them to visit. This is a good concept, but it has many flaws that need ironing out. Consider me the iron. Have you done this before? Save businesses that were scheduled to be turned into ultra-modern, futuristic compounds? He presses the rubber end of his stylus pen into his chin, and the hesitation before he answers makes a cold slither of ice slide down my back. Look, this isn't our usual protocol, and I'm not going to get into specific statistics about it, but that's a no then, I interrupt his evasive answer. If you don't show me to your office space so we can make a start, it's not going to be either, is it? Wasting time like this is the enemy of efficiency. I huff and beckon for him to follow as I start walking towards the stairs. I'd also like for you to give me the full tour, he hurries after me. Show me the museum through your eyes. And the workmen? Shall I give them all a tour too? I've borrowed them from one of our building sites. They're just on loan for the day. They're mapping the place out so we can see what we're working with and where we can make improvements or repairs. Just ignore them. Ignore several men wearing neon yellow making the noise of a small army and carrying ladders and power tools. Are my customers supposed to ignore them too? He rushes to catch up, so he's walking beside me instead of behind me. If you ever get any, we'll find out. I don't give him the satisfaction of a response as I sharply turn the corner onto the second floor and past the closed doors to the now defunct function rooms, and his shiny shoes squeak on the flooring as he rushes to keep up. We reach the stairs on the third floor and he catches up just as I'm about to turn onto them. You can call me Warren, by the way, although I'll also answer to demonic gerbil with no soul, if you prefer. He's thoroughly enjoying poking fun at my earlier reaction, and it makes me stomp even faster up the set of stairs to the third and final floor. I could think of a few other names for you, and I for you, but I'm too much of a gentleman to say them out loud. Ha! Last I heard, gentlemen don't waltz into buildings that aren't theirs and try to take over thriving businesses. I'm trying to help. There's something in his voice that makes me want to believe that, but this isn't the sort of thing I can adjust to that easily. You've made a problem and now you're trying to sell yourself as the solution to the problem that didn't exist before you arrived. You may wear the suit of gentleman, but that's as far as it goes. You really don't like my suit, do you? There's the office. Make yourself at home. I stop beside the kitchen and point towards the table on one side of the small room without giving him the satisfaction of an answer. It's not his suit I dislike. The suit itself is very nice. But how can there be anything likable about a company that wants to tear down gorgeous old buildings and put up Rubik's Cubes eyesores in their place, or anyone who works for such a company? The suit is fine. I can't deny that he wears it well. But it's everything else that makes him immensely dislikable. This isn't a thriving business, Lissa. He stands in the doorway and surveys his new office space with a wary look. As you said yourself, it's more of a limping zombie, and the sooner you realize that we share the same goal of reviving it, the better. It doesn't need your help. Well, it hasn't got much of a choice, so I predict that the next couple of months are going to be interesting. At least we can agree on that. I turn around and stalk away, wondering what on earth I've let myself in for, and somewhat intrigued by why he's so keen to help, if help is genuinely what he's offering. This museum means the world to me. It's my little corner of the world. It gives me a sense of purpose, and without it, will I lose that too? It's my way of bringing a little bit of magic into the world. My mum made my childhood magical, and after she died, it fell to me to bring the same magic into my younger sisters' lives. And now I try to do it for other children too, because believing in magic and wonder can set people up for life. And no one is going to get in the way of that. I can get this show back on the road by myself, can't I? The museum has had tough times before and we've always bounced back. We can do that again, and I certainly don't need the help of some corporate mouthpiece who thinks I'm doing everything wrong. Ever After Street will never have a cinema complex. Not on my watch. Chapter 2. That's an intriguing interpretation of office space. I've got a kink in my neck already. When Warren reappears in the lobby, he's got one hand on the back of his neck and is turning his head from side to side. His tablet is tucked under the other arm, and he's got a water bottle dangling from one finger. Shall we start this tour then? Unless you're snowed under with visitors, that is. He waves an open hand around the lobby, but even the workmen have gone for a coffee break, and I have to accept that the museum is as empty as it usually is. It's not always like this. There are good days. He just happens to have turned up on a quiet Monday. Of course he has. If someone arrives to pick apart your business, it's not likely they're going to come on a bright, bustling day when it doesn't look like it needs any help, is it? That would go against the rules of the universe. All right, there are more quiet days than there are bright and bustling ones, but still, it was busier over the summer and it's always quieter on weekdays. Things will pick up. Let's start outside and work our way upwards, and don't worry, I'll let you know if there's a sudden influx of money-wielding guests. He spins on the heel of his shiny shoes and heads for the entrance doors, and I get out from behind the reception desk and reluctantly traipse after him. I have a feeling that tour may be not quite the right word, and fault-finding exercise might be more apt. This sign needs to be much clearer, he started speaking before I've even got outside, and he's already jotting something down on the screen of his tablet, and then he steps back and snaps a photo of the large metal signpost that shows what the building is. It just says, Colours of the Wind Museum. There's nothing that explains what you have on display here, and the name sounds like it could be a museum for autumn leaves. I would love to see a museum full of autumn leaves. Yes, quite. His blue eyes flick up at me and blink like he can't quite comprehend someone making a joke about that. But the name means nothing, and I am now aware of its song from Pocahontas, but only because a member of my staff explained it to me last week. I won't be the only one who doesn't get it, and people are not going to come in if it isn't immediately obvious what it is. We'll need to order a new sign that makes it much clearer. Do you have a logo? I don't need a logo. Everyone needs a logo, for branding purposes, if nothing else. You can put it on everything to do with the museum and people will instantly recognize it. It's one of those things I've thought about idly over the years, but a logo has always seemed too businesslike, and the last thing I want is for this place to start feeling like a corporation. When I shake my head, he sighs and inputs something else on his tablet of gloom. He also casts a beady eye over the sandwich board next to the door where the entrance prices are displayed, but he doesn't say anything else about it. I believe there's a garden I need to see. Yes, it's only small, but it's special. I've carved gaps in the trees for books, strung up fairy lights, and there's a magical wishing well that really grants wishes. I'm sorry. He puts a hand behind his ears like he needs to hear the sentence again. Did you just use the term magical wishing well that really grants wishes? And keep a straight face. It's real. Come on, I'll show you. I beckon him to follow me along the paving stone walkway that skirts around the building and leads through a decorative wooden gate that feels like entering a secret garden and into the museum's outside space. There are beds of daylilies at the entrance, and he stops to crouch down and read the plaque explaining what they are. A real-life version of the sundrop flowers from Tangled. I don't know what that is, but these are looking very sorry for themselves. Are they weather damage or have people nicked them? I look at the once bustling bed of lilies, but the leaves are a bit on the slug-eaten side, and most of the stems are bare where people have, indeed, helped themselves. You can't stop people picking flowers, and it is autumn. The summer flowers are starting to have seen better days. If you cultivate these as an exhibition, they should be in cages to protect them from wandering hands. Better to have no exhibit at all than one that looks as faded as this. Do you know how excited children get to see a real-life version of a flower from a Disney film? Most people don't even realize that the sundrop flower was based on a real lily. It's a bit annoying, but there are worse things people can do than take flowers as a reminder of their time here. If people are going to take anything from here, they need to pay for the privilege. You can't charge someone to pick a flower. No, you can't. I, however, have no qualms. If you've put time and effort into growing them, they are not free to take, and that must be made clear. He stands back and looks around the garden. There aren't any don't pick the flower signs up. Not even an arbitrary attempt to stop people taking them. There was once, but people ignored it, and when it fell down, I didn't replace it because it wasn't doing any good. I'm reluctant to agree with anything he says, but there's an energy in his voice that makes me feel quite reassured by the value he places on my exhibits. I do get annoyed at the thought of people picking them, and I've never known what the solution is, but charging people isn't it. What next? Oxygen at 50p per microgram if you're inclined to breathe whilst visiting? They're one of the exhibits, no different to any other. I've got all the incomings and outgoings paperwork that you've submitted to the council, along with incident reports, so believe me, I know you have issues with people stealing the exhibits. But We'll get onto that later because I need to see them to understand what the reports are telling me. I'm not well versed in this Disney nonsense. And that, sir, is why you have no place in this museum, and I don't see how you can help with something you don't understand. Sir? An improvement on what you called me earlier. He raises a dark eyebrow and one corner of his mouth twitches. And I'd venture that precisely the point of you giving me the tour is to help me understand what's going on here. What's going on here is that you can't monetize something as simple as picking flowers. And if that's what you're trying to do, you may as well leave now. If you're going to add a fee to everything, then the integrity of the museum will be lost. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd rather bow out now than watch this place become something unrecognizable. My voice wobbles as I say it, but the flowers have given me a biting flash forward to what the next few months are going to be like. How are we ever going to agree on anything? And even if we do agree on some things, we're never going to agree on a solution to them, are we? I have a sudden sense that we're delaying the painfully inevitable of me losing this place anyway. Would I be better off spending the next few months preparing for the unavoidable ending rather than trying to fight a battle I can't win? I have no idea what I'd do without the museum. I can't picture a future without it, and the thought is enough to send me into a panic spiral as I imagine bleak, endless days and my life feeling as empty as it felt before I found this place. An art gallery at the time, overseen by an old chap who was about to retire, and the idea for Colours of the Wind came into my head and gave me something to focus on and brought the friendship of the other ever after street shopkeepers into my life, who rallied behind my idea and filled my days with joy and enthusiasm. I don't know what I'd do without the community and companionship of this little street. I'm open to anything, Lissa. I'm just trying to get a handle on this place and what's going on here. I must be terrible at hiding my emotions because he sounds slightly contrite. I've heard a little about you while dealing with the local council to get our plans approved. You're not one to step down from a fight. Neither are you, I'm guessing. The smile that spreads across his face is the first one that looks real all morning, and it's a thing of beauty. And that's what makes it interesting. I shake myself and take a few steps to put more distance between us, and he follows me from the entrance and into the wider part of the garden. Wow, it's like someone dropped a library out here. He goes to poke one of the books. A wooden library? Why are all these books made of wood? We're in England. It tends to rain occasionally. Real books and rain don't fare well together. Oh, you know what I meant. Why are they all... He looks above us. Wait, are those book pages growing on trees? Those are laminated book pages tied onto the tree branch, yes. His fingers are rubbing over the wooden book he's picked up, which is one of the many bookish sculptures made by my friend Franca. I have so many questions. It was originally going to be a reading nook for a garden, somewhere people could come and bring a book and a hot flask of tea, with all these little nooks to sit in amongst the tree trunks and roots, maybe an outdoor library to borrow books from, somewhere to escape from the world and spend time enjoying the sunshine and looking at the view of the treetops and the castle. I wave towards the truly spectacular view, unique from this angle of the street, where I can see towards the full moon forest and the castle in the hills, surrounded by browning leaves as the trees get into the swing of their autumn colour change. He glances in the direction I point, and, for just a moment, I see his face changed into something like awe, and he takes a step back like he needs more space to take it in. It's the first time he really looks up from his tablet, and he shakes his head like he isn't taking in what he's seeing. I don't believe in fairy tales, but that is a view from a fairy tale. It is a spectacular view. It's always been my favourite area of the building. Standing down here and looking up, the highest turrets and spires of the castle peeking through the treetops on the hills above us, it's like you've come across the venue for Cinderella's ball or the Beast's enchanted castle hidden in the woods right here in front of you. He's clutching the wooden book he's picked up and looking upwards at the castle, but he also seems taken with the book pages in the branches above his head and the twisted and gnarled tree trunks that have woven book sculptures and pushed into every cranny, and the fallen logs that have been structurally stabilized, varnished, and turned into benches. Eventually, he comes back to himself and consults his tablet of gloom again. Why do you have an outside space like this, but my reports show that the garden is underutilized? Because my friend Marnie has the Tale as Old as Time bookshop, and she has a beautiful garden there now. She and her other half have combined their gardens into one, so it's all books and roses, and people can go to sit and read and while away the hours. And it's not right for me to tempt customers away from her bookish garden. She and Cleo from the Wonderland Teapot run a books and afternoon tea experience together in her garden. They've worked really hard to make it perfect, and I didn't want to encroach on that or try to muscle in on their customer base. So I just made my garden into somewhere Belle would like to be. He looks confused. Who's Belle? Belle? I blink at him in surprise. Is there really a person in the universe who doesn't know who Belle is? The main character from Beauty and the Beast? I've never seen Beauty and the Beast, nor read the original fairy tale. Why would I? Why would you? I repeat in indignation. Because it's an endemic part of our society and the lessons learned from it are part of the fabric of our lives. Belle is a role model for every book lover and every person who's ever felt out of place or like they don't fit in. It's the quintessential proof that beauty is only skin deep and people can be nothing like they seem on the surface. It shows us that it's okay to like things that others don't approve of, and that books are nice and can help us with the answers to most of life's problems, like feeling lonely or ostracized. Give me that. I almost growl as I take the wooden book sculpture out of his hands. You don't deserve to hold that if you haven't even read one of the classics of our time or seen at least one version of the film. He laughs. He must think I'm joking. Instead of pushing it, he types something into his tablet of gloom and walks further into the garden and uses the toe of his mirror-shined shoe to poke at one of the low hedges, and his blue eyes trace the other evergreen hedges dotted around the garden. This looks like an abandoned maze. It is an abandoned maze. I was going to do a Wonderland thing and create a small maze with the wishing well at the end, but then Cleo opened the Wonderland teapot and it didn't seem fair to impinge on her Wonderland theme, so I just left it. He looks around, his lower lips sticking out as he nods slowly. So, what you're saying is that the opinions of your fellow shopkeepers are more important than your own livelihood. What? No! I should have known he'd read something more into it. They're not connected. My fellow shopkeepers, friends, are important to me, and so is my own livelihood. Those two things don't belong in a sentence together. When his fingers start skimming across the screen of his tablet, I snap at him again. What are you doing? Don't put that in your tablet. I need to understand what I'm dealing with here. I'm what you're dealing with here. I'm not some statistic.